Cheers. Cheers.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Circa 2003.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I've been listening to these podcasts, and I'm not gonna lie. I've heard you say like, "Oh, I've known this guy since like 2010, 2011,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, man, I've known this dude since like third, fourth grade. We were like buddies.
It was circa 2003. A young Ginge and an Italian kid became friends and hit his sister in the head with water bottle caps at a WrestleMania showing.
Probably.
It made her cry. Almost 20 years later, he's hiked the whole entire Appalachian Trail, and here I am.
Yes, sir.
This is Jake Wise, everybody. What's going on, friend?
Nothing, man. It's just good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Excited to talk about some of this trail shit and drink
cool.
some of these PBRs. I brought PBR. I'm not a complete heathen. I don't usually drink PBR.
I haven't had a PBR in forever. Honestly, I probably haven't drank in 8 months.
Really?
So a PBR is my first.
Damn, so I'm the bad influence.
Why are you the bad influence? I'm only going to have one. This is the second one.
Well, we just won't tell him what time it is.
We won't tell him. It's not 10 o'clock in the morning.
But no, PBR is the official beer of the Appalachian Trail. So
Really?
yes, sir.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I mean, it's cheap, and it's just what people buy to give to hikers because we're a bunch of shitbags.
Oh, man. Well, I definitely want to get into trail talk, but let's kind of go in through how we met, what you've been doing before the whole trail stuff. And
Yeah.
I guess the biggest question out of that is what influenced you to even go on the trail? Because no
Yeah.
offense, but like I never saw that coming for you.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people did. Well, first of all, yeah, I'm Jake. I've known Mike for since third, fourth grade.
Yeah.
We were like best buddies for a long time, and I think there was never any bad blood between us, but we kind of went separate ways and hung out with different friend groups or whatever. But always had love for you.
Yeah, same here, brother.
Good. I'm happy to see you doing so well. But yeah, I don't know. I'm from right here in Lancaster, and I work in HVAC and was doing that for the last 6 years. And why did I hike the trail? I mean, I guess the first and most obvious answer is because I just fucking love backpacking. My buddy and coworker had taken me out for my first hike
Okay.
in 2017, 2018, something like that. We went to West Virginia for like a long weekend. And I had never been to West Virginia.
Yeah.
So to me, it wasn't even about the backpacking or the exercise or the camping or any of that crap. It was like, I get to go see a new place in a different way that most people don't get to see it.
Yeah.
So after that first trip, I mean, during that trip, I had the worst gear. I was in terrible shape. I mean, I was probably borderline alcoholic at that point in time, honestly. But yeah, I don't know. I just became obsessed with it. And throughout the next few years, we went up and down the East Coast doing long weekends, and we always toyed with the idea of doing a long distance through hike. The most popular being the hike of the Appalachian Trail, but I never really thought it was realistic. But on one of these hikes, something just hit me where I remember on this particular hike, I was sitting at this overlook. It was like 3 a.m. I was by myself, just kind of looking out, and at that point in time, I honestly hated the person that I was. And I feel like I struggled and, secretly for a long time with just some of the decisions I made and just where I was. And I thought, I got to make a change. I got to experience something different to make me proud of myself.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to impress other people or do what I think is expected of me, by society.
Yeah.
So in that moment, sitting there at that overlook, I said, I'm going to go for this.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to do this. So after that, I started prepping and doing a lot of research and getting my gear in tune. And we had planned out a week-long trip in Arizona on the Arizona Trail. I said, if I can make it for a week,
especially in
I'm
the
going.
desert.
Yeah, well, and the desert's completely different than the East Coast hiking. But I
Yeah.
said, you know what, I'll see how it goes on this week-long trip, and I loved it. I did not want to come home,
Yeah.
so I just went for it. That was we did the Arizona trip in November, I
Okay.
think, and I started the Appalachian Trail in beginning of April.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Came pretty quick.
yeah.
So when you're prepping for that type of stuff, what's like, I mean, because you obviously haven't done anything to this extent
Right.
before, like what's going through your mind? Like, do you have everything that you need? Is there things that you're missing? Like when you get out there, is it like, oh my gosh, I should have brought this?
Yeah, I mean, I was, not to toot my own horn, but I think I was one of the people that prepped and prepped how you should prep
Yeah.
for a through hike. A lot of people go out there, they have no idea what they're doing. They haven't even, probably done any backpacking. Honestly,
Hmm.
I spend a lot of time just honestly watching YouTube videos,
Okay.
researching the trail.
It's the only thing you learn how you learn
Yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah, I mean it's a great tool for certain things, but I watched I don't know how many hours of there's people that vlog their entire hikes of the trail, so you know I learned a lot about the trail itself. I learned a lot about the gear that you need, and things that you don't need. So when I was prepping, my main focus was, you know, get your gear in tune, spend the extra money because, a $600 tent, like that's expensive.
Yeah.
But that's your home for 6 months.
Yeah.
So, I got the proper gear. I learned the trail, and that was most of my prep. Everyone thinks that the trail is a physical feat, and it is, but it's the other things that are what's going to take you out.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I prepped a little bit physically as well. I started running, which I fucking hate running. It's not. I'm just not the person that works out and exercises. It's just not me.
Yeah.
So, but I did start running and doing some stretches and stuff like that, and it probably did help. But you walk yourself into shape essentially. You start slow, and eventually you're cruising.
Work your way up. Now, you weren't planning on going with anybody for this. It was just you, eventually at first.
Yeah. So the whole intention was for me to hike the trip solo, and the same friend, his name's Nate, that I worked with at the time, the guy that I always hiked with, he said, if you're going to do this, I'll drive you down there and I'll do, the first week with you. I'll just see how far I get, and then I'll head home and leave you on your way. So that's what he did. He drove me down, and within the first couple of days, I met this wonderful group of people, and I wanted to be out there solo, but for some reason I stuck with these damn people.
So, and how does that work though? Like, you're just passing each other on the trail and you're just like, hey, how are you guys? Let's have a beer. Let's do something.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people think that on the Appalachian Trail, you're going to be out there in the middle of the wilderness. You're never going to see any people, and you're just by yourself. But that's not really how the Appalachian Trail is. There's a whole, community around it. Plus, it's the most trafficked long distance trail definitely in the U.S., maybe even the world. I can't remember if it's in the world or not. But
Jamie, look that up.
Yeah, pull it up, Jamie. But yeah, so the first night, we hiked the approach trail. There's an approach trail that takes you to the Appalachian Trail. So you have to hike to get to the Appalachian Trail, about 9 miles. So that's usually people's first day.
Okay.
So we got to the first shelter area on the Appalachian Trail, the first camping area, and my buddy and I met a younger girl and an older guy, and we became friends with them, and hiked with them the next day, and then the next day after that, and then this gorgeous thing next to me came into the picture. And
where is she? She must be a ghost, but we can hear her for some reason.
Say something, Tori.
Still here.
So yeah, then we met Tori here, and the four of us kind of became a little crew. But the older gentleman, Steve, he was only out there for a few weeks. He was planning to be, a section hiker, someone that just does a section. So he ended up leaving us, and I was stuck with these two chicks, and I'm like, man, these girls are slow hikers, and I'm not trying to do that. I'm like, I'm gonna leave them, and I didn't. I stuck with them. We became good friends, and yeah. So you just meet people out there, and a lot of people, will hike with someone for a few weeks, and then they'll meet someone else and hike with them for a few weeks.
So how far into the hike were you when you met Tori and everybody else?
I met Tori my second night, her first night.
Okay.
Because she did not do that approach trail.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have to. It's not part of your Appalachian Trail through hike.
Initiation.
Yeah. I mean, some people do it, some people don't. But
Well, and the background on that is I was supposed to start a week prior, and I was taking a family vacation, and one of my cousins got COVID on the vacation. So I had to postpone a week and start a day after they did. So I was like, screw the approach trail. I'm late.
Yeah.
And then ended up, it's like that's set off me meeting him.
Nice.
yeah. So, yeah, essentially, we can say probably the first night on the Appalachian Trail we met, and we hiked the entire trail together, which is very rare.
Now, where did you start off at?
Georgia. So the trail, you can hike it north to south, or you can hike it, south to north, which is what most people do.
Yeah.
Start in the south in Georgia. It's like, upper Georgia.
What's the terminology for that?
North and south.
Yeah.
Nobo and Sobo.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we were Nobo hikers, northbound hikers.
Now, what about Ebo and Weibo?
Ebo and Weibo. Did you tell him this? Did you already know this?
I've been looking shit up, bro.
Oh, you watched my damn video on YouTube.
I shared your damn video. Thank you very much.
Ebo and Weibo is eastbound and westbound, but that don't apply to the Appalachian. But anyway, yeah, the trail starts at the summit of Springer Mountain in Georgia and extends up to the summit of Mount Katahdin in Maine.
Okay.
So it's the official mileage of it changes a little bit each year, maybe by a mile or two.
Okay.
The official mileage, the year that I did it, 2021, was 2,193.1 miles.
Jeez.
And it passes through 14 states.
Now, if you were to take the Appalachian Trail and point it west, what would that be like the equivalent to? That you'd make it out to like almost Utah?
Oh, hell, it would have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because California's like 3,000 some odd miles.
I think so. Yeah.
It'd be interesting too to take it because our mileage obviously is mountain miles, versus if you're hitting the middle of the country, that's flat miles.
Yeah.
So
True.
It honestly might stretch further.
Even further.
Yeah.
Anyway, that doesn't matter. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
And what do they say about like the elevation change? It's the same. If you hike the Appalachian Trail, you're gaining the same amount of elevation as if you were to climb Mount Everest 16 times, I believe.
Really?
Correct.
Yeah.
Up and down in full. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's.
I mean, that's what the Appalachian Trail does, and that's what makes the Appalachian Trail so difficult, is that it's just up and down and up and down, like over and over again. And a lot of trails aren't like that. Other trails on the West Coast or whatever, you might climb a mountain up and it might suck for however long, but then you kind of ride.
Yeah.
And then maybe you'll drop down and ride. Not the AT, dude. It's just up and down.
I get winded going up my stairs. Like, I can't.
Well, I mean, I do too. I'm not going to lie. Like I said, I was not in good shape when I started this thing.
So, you're in day one, day two. You meet Miss Tori here. You're going through. So, like, now, like, what's going through your mind? Obviously, you're thinking of going into this solo. Like, does your strategy change of how you're going to approach this? And what even is, like, the mental capacity that you can hold of thinking, like, wow, I'm about to hike this entire trail?
Yeah. It's a weird thing. Like, I mean, they tell you not to really plan out anything because shit changes so much.
Yeah.
You think you're going to do one thing and you think you're going to hit a certain mileage and it just doesn't happen. Or, you meet people and you either slow down or speed up to accommodate for the people that you're hiking with because you enjoy their company. And I feel like that's kind of what happened to me. I did want to do this all solo, and, I knew, I had prepped a little bit, so I knew I could do a little higher miles than most people usually do at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right. So at the start of the hike, they recommend to do like 8 miles a day.
Okay.
Which is pretty low.
Yeah.
My thought was to do, 8 miles the first day, and then bump it up to 12 to 15 and ride that out for a while. And then I met the group, and they wanted to kind of just stick with the 8 miles for a little while, and I did that for a few days, and
Tori's throwing her hands up.
It came to a point where I'm like, should I leave them? Should I do my own thing or whatever? But for some reason, I stuck it out, and I'm happy I did, obviously. So
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. more developing after this. So, what is like a typical then day then in mileage? Like, is that 8 miles filling out your whole day from, dusk to dawn, or?
Right. Yeah. So, like I said at the start, 8 to 10 miles people try to start, and that's from the time you wake up till the time you go to bed. The amount of miles you get done in a day. I guess I don't know what the average would be for a day. Typically on the AT, probably 15 to 20. Like once you're in hiking shape.
Yeah, I would say 15 to 20. I think we like to linger somewhere around like 17, 18.
Yeah,
if we push
that was
like
sort
20,
of our happy
we'd
spot.
definitely feel sore.
Yeah.
But if you did like 15, you felt like you were copping out and you could do more. But that's, we didn't really get up super early ever.
Right.
We'd usually be done early enough. You were also...
Yeah, I'm not an early riser, and I never will be.
Not either.
If it was up to her, we would have been up at 4 or 5 o'clock every morning. And that's just not me. I'm like 9 is early for me. So, we'd get up and
that's why you gotta start going to bed at 9 or 10, dude.
I can't do it. Like even if I get up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock for work every day, and I'm still in bed at 11, 11:30 every night. Like, I just can't. I can't go to bed early. But anyway, the highest mileage day I think that we did was 23 miles.
Yeah.
24 miles, somewhere in there.
Yeah, last week.
And some people do more than that. Some people do, some people keep it lower. It just depends on your physical shape and everything. But
yeah.
I'd say the average is probably 15 to 20, somewhere in there per day.
Yeah.
What are some things on the trail that were like unexpected to you that you didn't think were happening while you were prepping? I mean, obviously you're prepping, you're researching, you're going through like all the possibilities that could happen. Was there anything that happened that was like, I didn't see this coming?
The first thing that pops into my head is the trail community behind the Appalachian Trail. Because it's so popular and because so many people attempt it every year, there's a whole community around it. I mean, people that, put their phone numbers out there to give hikers rides into towns. There's people that's how they make their living for the hiking season. They shuttle hikers. Yeah. Which is wild. Yeah. And, there's those people. There's what we call, anyone that helps out a hiker, we call them trail angels. Okay. And they provide trail magic. We're going to get some
Appalachian Trail terminology in this episode here.
It's a whole different trail lingo, I guess. But yeah, so... and trail angels would be people that would give you a ride, or people would set up cookouts right on trail, and with burgers, dogs, whatever, just feed you as you come to the road, whatever.
You've had a long hard day and you hit a road crossing and there's a cooler full of beer.
Yes. They'll leave.
It just makes you believe in God again.
People just drop off a cooler full of beer and you come up onto it, and the best part is you never know if it's going to be full or not, because you don't know if somebody already hit it or if they just left it there. So it's like, oh, are we getting beer or not? But like just stuff like that, and I don't know. I've heard a lot of people. I follow a lot of YouTube hikers and different stuff or whatever. And people always said, when I hiked the Appalachian Trail, it kind of made me regain my faith in humanity. And I feel like that's true for me as well. It just makes you realize that there are good people out there that just want to help you achieve this goal, for no reason, really.
I think that's a big thing too, as far as coming out of essentially 2 years of COVID and being very isolated, to then go into... Well, you're isolated in the woods, kind of, but not really, because there's all these hikers around you, and everybody's got this energy of just being excited. Yeah. And then you have this whole community of people that are just like trying to usher you on with support. It was very nice. I felt like personally coming off of COVID to be that connected to strangers. Yeah. That are just like, oh yeah, sit down, have a burger, have a beer.
And not even like people shuttle driving. Like, majority of the time, obviously we have to get food every few days. Yeah. So when we're out of food, we have to get into town somehow. and it's either you're walking, which sometimes it's miles and miles and miles of extra walking that you do not want to do.
Yeah.
It's not trail miles. It's shuttle drivers, and some towns, have shuttle drivers for hikers. Some towns don't. And if those aren't options, your other option is hitchhiking.
Yeah.
So we became really accustomed to hitchhiking because it's free.
Yeah.
And it just works out the best. You don't have to schedule a time for a shuttle driver to pick you up, and you don't have to walk. So yeah, we're throwing out thumbs hitchhiking, and I mean, we never had a bad experience with it.
I was about to say, like, was there any like are people skeptical about hitchhiking now on both ends? I mean, there wasn't any weird encounters or anything?
I think hitchhiking's more prevalent down south, and they
Yeah.
definitely are more accustomed
Okay.
to the trail. So they know,
Yeah.
AT hiker, get in,
Yeah,
hop
yeah.
in. And we used to joke that trucks were our favorite because
Okay.
especially with COVID still going on, and there was a lot of kind of info thrown at us as hikers being like, don't go into these small communities and pass COVID on. Like, you'll destroy you'll
Yeah.
put their entire economy on hold. So it's kind of nice when you see a hiker who's like, well, we can just pop in the back,
Yeah.
and we can't hurt you and you can't hurt us.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you should tell 'em about the big rig.
Yeah.
Big rig.
Jake's favorite hitchhiking.
Yeah. So, yeah, here's a little story. So we went into town to get food and
Story time.
go to the post office and all that stuff. And we had gotten a ride in, and her and I had lunch or whatever, and we're walking, back out the trail. And if no one picks you up, you just start walking toward the trailhead, because what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
So we're walking, and then we hit this 4-way, traffic light. And we turn right at this light, and we see, we're looking like, okay, when the light turns green, who's coming? Like any pickup trucks, like anybody we think is going to pick us up.
Yeah.
And we just see a line of big rigs. We're like, we're not going to get picked up or whatever. Like, we're screwed. And Tori's like, well, we might get picked up. We might get picked up if you offer to suck his dick. So we're just laughing our asses off, at that comment.
Yeah.
And sure as shit, the light turns green, and the very first big rig pulls over to pick us up. So we got to ride back the trail in a 18-wheeler, and it was pretty sick. The dude was so awesome. He's like, familiar about the trail, just like everyone else.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. I never rode in a big rig before. So we had our buddy who was waiting at the trailhead for us. He knew we were in town or whatever, and he's sitting there, and we roll up in this big
Bright
rig.
orange.
He's just
Bright
laughing his
orange
ass
big rig.
off. He's like, "You guys got a ride on that thing?"
Oh man.
Yeah.
So when you're walking through there, I mean, obviously there's things that are going to come up, like injuries, unforeseen health issues, and things like that. I mean, did you experience any of that on there? I mean, did
Yeah.
anything happen to you?
To me, yes. In Maine, we were getting close to the finish there, and one day, I remember we sat down for lunch, and as soon as I stood up from sitting down and eating or whatever, I felt this pain, like in the side of my back, like my lower back.
Hmm.
And I'm like, whatever, your back hurts all the damn time. You're carrying a backpack, whatever, walking all day, so you always have these aches and pains. And as I start to walk, it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm like, what the hell? I caught up with her, and I said, hey, I'm having this pain. I'm like, I think maybe I have to shit really bad or whatever. Like something's like blocked up or whatever. So I'm out, I stepped off trail and went to take a shit. And I'm squatted down for I don't know how long. I'm out there for a while. And she's like, you all right? And I'm like, yeah, there's nothing. Like, I'm just like hurting really bad. At this point, I'm in tears.
Yeah.
And I walked back out to the trail to her, and I'm like, something's going on.
Yeah.
And we're in the middle of, the wilderness in Maine. Like, it's not the best place to have something going on.
Yeah.
But at this point in time, I'm crying my eyes out, like the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. And she's like, give me your pack. We're going to go back to the road, the nearest road, which was
Like a mile back, probably.
Yeah,
Maybe a little less. But
luckily,
yeah.
like
but
a
it was like
mile.
a dirt road.
right.
Not a lot of traffic. No
Right.
service whatsoever.
So she grabbed my pack. We stumbled back a mile to this nearest road, and thankfully, we ended up getting someone to rush me to the ER.
Hmm.
And long story short, I had kidney stones.
Jeez. The worst possible time.
Yes,
Oh,
it was
man.
the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. And I mean, to be fair, I didn't even have to piss them out. They must have crushed up, as they were traveling through my ureters.
Yeah.
Because I never pissed anything out. They told me what I was feeling was the stone going through my ureter.
Oof.
And they said it was tearing my ureter as it passed through. So it was no joke. It was the worst thing I've ever felt in my life.
I pray I never get that.
Yeah.
I drank way too much Turkey Hill iced tea, so I know it's coming.
Yes.
But
yes. Yeah. But yeah, they said probably, from 5 months of dehydration.
Well, yeah.
Booze.
And that was like the thing from my point of view is Jake doesn't complain ever. And for him to come out of the woods, and like that's like another saying where like if a through hiker gives up your pack, like their pack is their life. That's their food. That's everything that they need. That if they're, and he would never, he was very adamant about no one's ever carrying my pack. Like I'm gonna do this all myself.
Yeah.
So for me to be like, give me your pack, and him to just give it without any complaint, without any like fighting, I was like, holy shit, like what's going on?
Yeah.
And then we're driving. Yeah, some guy he was out with his dog in a truck, and he lived right up the road. And I don't know if he was foraging for something or whatever, but he was just going to drive us into town to the fire station. He's like, well, they should be able to drive you down because it was a half hour from the emergency room. And he is just writhing in the back seat. Like, the poor man's trying to make conversation. And
I was screaming, crying.
Every bump we hit on this, this dirt road, whatever, is just like sending him to pain. And I'm calling my mom. I've got an aunt that's a nurse practitioner. And they're like, well, it's probably either kidney stones or appendicitis. Yeah. So then we're freaking out because like, does he have to have surgery, whatever else? And yeah, we get in there and they just start flushing him with IVs and drugging him up.
Yeah, so they drugged me up, IV Dilaudid, which I never had before, and I'm like, this is awesome. I felt great.
Can I get some of this before I go?
But what's funny is I was starting to come down from the Dilaudid, and the doctor's like, you got this kidney stone, it's this big. Sometimes they break up and you pass them without knowing or whatever. She said, this isn't going to happen for you.
Oh.
Yeah.
So she's like, prescribed me all these pain pills, whatever. She said, flush with water for the next few days, try to piss this thing out.
Yeah.
And you'll be good. But she said it is going to be horrible.
Yeah.
And after, I was still, kind of doped up, went to the...
we zeroed at a hostel so he could just drink water and relax.
So we went to stay at the hostel for a day or two or whatever, and I came down from the drugs, and after that I had no more pain. So I don't know if I maybe pissed it out in the hospital when I was drugged up and I didn't feel anything, or if it actually did dissolve.
Because mind you, they give him like 3 or 4 or 5 like filters. He's got to piss through a filter.
Yeah, right.
So he's pissing through a filter every time he's pissing now from here on out.
So
trying to catch
I'm on trail pissing through a filter for days.
Oh my gosh.
Trying to catch whatever's in there. And it was horrible. I'm carrying around these pissy filters. And it smells and it's, it's raining, so the filters are breaking down. It's like,
oh man.
This is ridiculous.
And I'm cracking up because, this is the day that he gets it. And then the next day, we zero the night, he's IV, drinking water, chugging water. And I'm forcing him to drink water. Not allowed to drink beer. It's like, you're not touching any liquid other than water. And it's like the next day and he's still pissing amber. And I was like, of course you had a kidney stone. Like this, he's like, you're pissing amber for 5 months. Like,
it's
not
just,
good.
it's so hard to stay hydrated when you're, when your activity level is so high, especially for me. Like, I feel like me as a person, my body needs more water than other people do. Cause I sweat like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, I'm the same way. And part of the reason when we were talking earlier, when I left work early the other day, I was dehydrated. I woke up from my nap and I'm like, oh, I felt this before. And it's just like, you start to think throughout your day of like, you get so caught up in anything. And I think that's with, hiking, work, hobbies, things like that you're just like, I just forgot to drink, nothing more to it.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, let's double back a little bit and kind of go back to something that we were talking about earlier of how you two met. And, so obviously you meet night 2, night 1 for you guys. There's some trail terminology that I was keen to of what banana blazing and pink blazing might be. So who was, how did this happen? How did we find, if I say it, quote unquote, love on a trail?
Yeah, it's sort of a weird, rare thing.
I think the other chick that we were hiking with, her name was Eva, and she was just kind of this really big, bold personality. and she had met them the night before, so they were kind of their own cluster. And then I met them their night 2, my night 1, and I wanted to sleep. I was hiking with another person that I had met at the time, and she called me out when I was running to the privy quick to have a little night pee, and she just kind of made me join in the fun with them. So then from there on out, like that was the first person that I kind of clicked with. So the running joke was we were all kind of pink blazing for her.
Pink blazing. So there's all this trail terminology, right? The trail is marked by white blazes.
Okay.
The Appalachian Trail is marked by white blazes. So white blazing is hiking the Appalachian Trail. So then you have all this different trail terminology, right? There's pink blazing, yellow blazing, all these different things. Pink blazing would mean, you're
altering your speed.
You're changing your speed to follow a female.
Okay.
And then there's banana blazing, which is the opposite, but obviously for a male. So that's what she means by pink blazing.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's brown blazing, which is you're
there's all
hiking
kinds
to
of
hit
different-
privies because you got to poo.
All
Okay.
kinds of different shit.
Yellow blazing, which is you're cutting some of the trail out with the yellow blazes down the road. So essentially you're hitching rides to skip
okay.
sections of trail.
Gotcha.
Blue blazing is when you take off trail and you use the river because we go by some river, so you can canoe or kayak, so you skip trail to blue blaze. I'm trying to think of anything else. I think those are most of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're kind of funny. So yeah, we were all kind of pink blazing for this other chick, and then the 2 section hikers, his friend and then this other guy, they fell off because their time was done on trail, and then it was Jake left with 2 females, and we really liked him just as a person, and we're like, but he can hike faster than us, so we wanted him to stay, and we were trying to be like, stay with us. So then it was us 2. We would do banana blazing for him. Yeah. So that kind of shook out like that.
So, yeah, as far as us starting to date, though, how can we?
I think that, so me and the other chick, I think it is hard because aside from just the physical of going up and down hills, you have gained possibly 30 pounds on your back. Some people more, some people less, but you've gained 30 pounds overnight. So if you aren't trained, if you don't train enough with that, your knees are under, everything is under a greater amount of pressure. So me and the other chick, she had some ankle and knee issues prior to. I've never had knee problems, but I got a little eager on my first couple of days hiking too much, that then I started having knee problems. So her and I were a little bit slower than Jake, and so he was always kind of just blown ahead of us. And then my knees kind of calmed down a little bit. So Jake and I think just out of the 3 of us started hiking together because her knees were still bothering her worse, her knees and her ankles. So we just ended up hiking together, and I have a large mouth and I can't shut up. And
I do not.
And he does not, but apparently he would just sit there and take it. So
I'm much more of a listener.
Same.
yeah.
That's why I do this.
I mean, that's why we work so well, right? I mean, we're out there. There's no other stimuli.
Yeah.
It's like you're either hiking by yourself and listening to music and podcasts, or you're talking to someone. So I would let her ramble and about whatever the hell she wanted, and I would listen. And
didn't even know if he liked me. I was just like,
I didn't really talk to many people for the first couple of weeks. I kind of, I would laugh or whatever and say a few things, but
that's kind of
I'm not trying to connect with anyone. I was out there to do it solo.
Yeah.
So, but we just, I don't know. I just feel like at some point early on, first couple weeks in, we just somehow connected over, how we want to live our lives and, prior experiences and things like that. And one thing just led to another, and we ended up starting a relationship out there.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. which
gross
does happen.
Gross and tired.
I mean, it does happen out there. Like we saw some other relationships start or whatever, but for one to last beyond the trail, it's pretty rare, I think.
And I don't really have that context because I have not done the same research. But no, we just kind of got along, and it was very easy. And it was like kind of, I think when we started off, that uncertainty of like, well, like we're just friends, or figuring out and having conversations and whatever. But it just kept happening, and it was like, all right, well, we really get along, and we kind of were in cahoots against everyone else at times. We were a little bit older than the group that we ended up hiking with. So for us, we were kind of like the old dogs. So that was kind of bonding in a way. And yeah, I think Jake's a very kind and open person, and not that there's a lot of that on trail for sure, but we just got along very well.
Oh.
And it helps out that obviously I'm from here in Lancaster and she's from New York, so coming off trail, obviously, it's sort of a long distance thing, but not too much of a long, one of us was driving to the other every weekend, coming off trail, and now obviously I live up there now,
but yeah, it's like you go through, like we think about the things like, technically today is our 1-year anniversary.
Yes.
Like,
really? Oh,
it is
congratulations.
our 1-year anniversary today.
Well, hold on. Group cheers.
Yes.
Yeah, we think about like the amount of things we've done in 1 year is kind of ridiculous.
1 year ago today, we were sitting alongside a road. So we had spent a couple days.
And you're just like, want a date?
Here's a story. Yeah, that's essentially what it was. It was like, we were getting relationships start before you make it a relationship. You know how it is. But we had come off a couple days in town with the other girl's family, and they dropped us off to continue our hike, and we were 4 miles in for the day.
Terrible day. Yeah.
It's pouring rain.
Oh my.
We are just coming off a couple days off. We have no motivation, and we're just sitting alongside of the road debating, do we take this road and go to the hostel and have another chill night, or do we do what we want to do, the 15 miles or whatever?
Yeah.
So we're just sitting along the road in the pouring rain, and it was just kind of like a conversation where I was like, yeah, we should probably just start dating. That's pretty much what I said.
Well,
because too, you're meeting a lot of different people. So to witness everyone else around us that are right, people have attraction, people are getting along, people are like maybe dating, whatever. But so it's hard to kind of sift out like, I don't know him prior to however many weeks ago.
Yeah.
I don't know who he is, even though I think I have a good idea. So it's like, is this just a fun thing for you, or is this a trail thing? People come out there with different expectations. Yeah. And I think that is kind of the funny thing about it is we both went out there to be completely alone, sit with our heads, hike for 6 months.
Yeah.
And out of everyone, we're the ones that ended up in a relationship.
Yeah.
Can't write that stuff.
No. It's awesome.
That's so cool.
It's a great story.
Oh, man. Well, I want to get more into the trail here shortly, but we're going to take a quick break too here from our sponsor. Hey everyone, this episode of Talk to Me is brought to you by, you guessed it, us. Check out our Patreon account at patreon.com/T2M Media. Help support us in any way you felt led to. Also check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcast. All right, we're back.
Yes, sir.
What is your favorite I don't know, maybe, what's your favorite memory that sticks out to you most in our childhood?
In our childhood? Shit.
Stumped questions.
Yeah,
that's what I'm here for.
This is putting me on the spot.
This is for the content.
I don't like it. You and I. Oh, obviously, the condom at recess. Dude, I haven't even thought about that.
I forgot about that. Oh my god.
We were in what? 4th or 5th grade?
4th or 5th grade, yeah.
Yeah, and Kinsey stole a rubber out his dad's drawer, and we brought it out to recess, and we were like, oh, we should open it, like see what it looks like or whatever, and we're like, oh, well, doesn't it smell like it has a scent? Is everybody going to smell it? And we're like, fuck it, just open it up. Yeah. So he opens it up, and we're like waving around this condom, and we ended up blowing it up like a balloon, obviously, because that's what kids do. And I remember we're like batting it around, and there was a fence down, at the edge of the, and it went over the fence, and I don't know who it was jumped over to attempt to get this condom or whatever, but I don't even know if we got it. But
I thought it was you.
Maybe it was. I don't know.
I thought you jumped over and got it, and then that's when Joycey came down,
yes.
The recess aide.
Whoever it was saw us, doing whatever with this condom, and then the next day, I remember the damn guidance counselor called us all to his office separately to ask us what we were doing.
Yep. Why were we playing with a condom?
At recess or whatever, and we all played it off, but I think we all got in trouble for it.
We all said we thought it was a balloon. We thought Nick brought him balloons.
Yeah, ain't no goddamn balloon.
I forgot all about that. Thank you so much for saying that. That just made me laugh really hard. Oh, man. Yeah, because I remember, too, because I think B.J. Yunkin was going to open it up in the bathroom, and then he got scared. And then we brought it out to recess, and then Kinsey just opened it. Oh, man. Because, another thing that goes with that, that's when SummerSlam 2003 was happening. Dude. And the Sable photo shoot that she did, he brought that in too with the condom.
Yes,
because apparently we were just gonna have a big jerk fest or something.
I remember I had the Stuff magazine when Stacy Keibler did her bra and panties set in Stuff magazine.
Fair.
And I remember, so that was back when we still had the movie stores.
Yeah.
Right, and right near the Y's was I think it was Movie Gallery at the time.
Yeah, it was.
And Jesse Moore got the Stuff magazine, and
yeah.
I said, where'd you get that? I gotta get that. He said at the Movie Gallery or whatever. So I made my mom drive me to Movie Gallery, and she's like, "What do you need?" I'm like, "I want to get a magazine." So I walk up with this Stuff magazine, and it's got Stacy Keibler in a bra and panties on the cover, and the woman at the counter just looks at me, and she's like, "How old are you?" And I'm like, whatever it was, 11 years old.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm sorry, I cannot sell this to you. And I'm like, all right. So I went out and got my mom. And my mom, being who she is, goes in and she bought the fucking thing for me. She's like, I don't give a fuck. She looks at it and she's like, what's it? I'm like, it's Stacy Keibler. She's like, all right,
whatever. Yo, I remember at WrestleMania 20 when we got that up there and the bra and panties match came on. She's like, I shouldn't be letting you guys watch this. Your mom's gonna kill me, Michael. Whatever.
She's like, just don't tell her.
Just don't tell her. Oh man.
Yeah.
That's freaking.
Dude, we go way back, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like me and you had a lot of the coming of age.
Yeah.
Bullshit, right?
I think so.
Like, we were best buds throughout like a lot of middle school, so we, the awkward starting to date days and school dances and all that shit. Like,
you were the person to literally push me into the first girl I ever wanted to ask out.
Which was
that was, I'm not gonna say her name.
Okay, that's. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then high school were we still chilling in high school? Maybe at parties.
We saw each other, here and there at parties, but
not a whole lot. I mean, that's cool.
Like you said, dude, I think we always had love for each other. I just think that we just kind of went.
I remember doing spinaroonies and lunch line.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's the shit I remember.
We used to do them on your bedroom floor too.
I'm sure.
When we had sleepovers.
All the wrestling shit.
Your mom would run up and be fucking pissed.
I tried getting back into the wrestling thing. I the last time I watched it, I think it was this past fall. It was one of the holidays.
Okay.
And it was after holiday dinner or whatever, and I'm chilling with my dad in the garage, and there was nothing on, so he just threw on wrestling or whatever. It was just horrible. I'm like, man, it was not like this when we were kids.
No.
Like, I get it. Like, if I probably watched it for a few weeks, I'd probably get back into it, but I'm like, oh, man.
So I wanted to see, I did a test because I have Peacock, so I went back and would watch like 2003, 2000 to 2006.
Is all that shit on there?
It's all on there, yeah.
Really?
So I'm watching all that, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, why was this a lot better than I remember it? But then I look at today's, and I'm like, oh, no, today's just shit. Like, that's just where it is.
It's bad.
I will say this. I stopped watching in probably 2008, like right around before we were getting into high school.
Okay, so that's not too much longer than after I stopped.
But then I got back in 2016 because I got really big into that independent scene, the New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact, Ring of Honor, all that. I mean, it was just, I mean, it was cool. So I do still watch today. I'm a big, I don't know if you heard of the new company, AEW.
Yeah, I have. Oh. And actually, I know of it. I'm going to do a shout out right now to my barber.
Okay.
Tim Forrester. He is a barber at the Blackcomb. He's all into wrestling, and he does a podcast on wrestling.
Really?
Yeah. I'll send you the link.
Yeah, I'll check that out definitely. All right, Tim, we'll check that out.
Shout out Tim.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't know what it is. So like this, AEW is mainly nostalgia for me. It reminds me of 2003, 2004, and I mean they got, CM Punk's there, Sting, whole bunch of
that's pretty cool.
people. I was like,
yeah, might have to check that out. Yeah. I remember my favorite moment I vaguely remember in wrestling history. I remember sitting on the floor in my bedroom in my mom's house, and it wasn't a special or anything. It might have been Monday Night Raw or whatever, and Goldberg had been out of the picture for a long time, and I remember Stone Cold was wrestling someone, and I don't remember. Yeah, Goldberg's the man. But I remember Stone Cold was wrestling someone, and I don't remember who it was. But for whatever reason, Goldberg had a problem with him in the past.
Okay.
Right? So Stone Cold, I think, was getting his ass kicked by whoever it was. And all of a sudden, Goldberg runs out with a steel chair. And no one has seen Goldberg in how long?
Oh, yeah.
And Goldberg comes out with a steel chair, beats this dude's ass, right? And then it's just Goldberg and Stone Cold in the ring. And they just both kind of look at each other. Like, are you cool? Are you not? Or whatever. And Stone Cold has a beer.
Yep.
And he throws Goldberg a beer. And Goldberg's like, just kind of looking at him. And then they just crack and slam together, going. Dude. It was like I remember running out of my bedroom like, holy shit.
This is the coolest thing ever.
Best collab ever.
Oh, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that was around the time. Because he didn't stay too long when he came back.
No.
He was only there for like a year.
No.
Had that big match blow off with Brock Lesnar. This is now turned into a wrestling podcast if you're here for Appalachian Trail stuff.
By two people who don't even watch wrestling anymore, apparently.
I mean, I got it. They know. I do still watch.
Yeah, probably.
I at least try to watch all the pay-per-views. But
I do not.
It's, yeah. I'll tell you what, this past WrestleMania was amazing.
Yeah?
Check it out. If you get Peacock, check it out.
Do they bring back any of the...
Stone Cold had his last match ever.
Really?
Yeah, this past one.
Damn.
Yep.
I would have liked to see that, honestly. Yep. We just watched the Hot Ones with Stone Cold. So that was pretty cool. He's the man.
He cracks me up, dude. Yeah. He has never been anything but himself.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you tried his beer yet?
No, I didn't get a chance to.
I haven't either. There's a guy at work who was talking about it the other day. He's like, I'm going to grab a pack and bring it in. We'll all try it or whatever. So,
where do you get it from? Any beer distributor?
I don't think so. I don't know if you have to order it or what.
I'll look that up later.
What is it? Broken Skull Ranch?
Yeah, it's like
IPA
Broken Skull or something.
Yeah.
I'll have to try that. I tried Conor McGregor's whiskey.
I like it.
I like it too.
Yeah. So.
Oh no.
Very minimal.
Her and I went to New Orleans for Mardi Gras.
New Orleans.
Yeah. And it was my first time there. She loves New Orleans, but we were, out there. You can just day drink on the streets.
Yeah.
Carry beer, liquor. It don't matter. Just all day long. So we went to this like dive bar, and I saw it on the shelf. I'm like, I never had Proper 12. Let's try that. And I'm like, dude, I like this. Like this is good. Like,
yeah.
I can drink this. And I'm not a big liquor guy.
No, I'm not either.
I've always been a beer guy. But so yeah, I got all into Proper 12 for a little while. I was, when I came home, I was still like hitting bottles, like, buying it, and drinking it regularly. And our other friend from Trail that we hiked with, Noah, he's more into like the fine whiskey, like, like knows his shit. And when we did a hike, I don't know, a couple months ago.
You and him, yeah.
Yeah.
They went back and re-hiked the first section of Trail.
Yeah. So okay. I brought a bottle of Proper with me, and he's like, what is this shit? And I'm like, Proper 12, McGregor's. I'm like, it's pretty good. He's like, it ain't good. It's good to you because you have the palate of a toddler. So I'm like, whatever, dude.
Whatever, man.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's smooth. I think it's good. I'll drink it. I like McGregor too.
That's fine.
I don't care what McGregor does. I'll always be a fan.
Hey, he captivated a generation. I'll say that. He may not be the greatest fighter ever, but he captivated.
And I don't know why I like him so much. He's not the best fighter. He's honestly not the best person in the world. But for some reason, I am drawn to him, and I like him. I don't know.
He's
I can't
got that
explain it.
personality. I think
Yeah.
he just kind of wants you to see what is he going to do next.
Maybe it's the Irish thing.
He's kind of like Dennis Rodman. That's how Dennis Rodman was for me.
I
It's
love Rodman too.
like, see?
It's like that part of you, right? Like you're not like one person, you're all these variations, and that's one variation just popping off. And it's
What,
like
the Irish thing? You talking
just
about?
all of it.
What are
Like
you
just
talking
somebody that's cocky like that or an
Oh.
asshole like that
Yeah,
or
but I'm
whatever.
not
Like
I'm not like.
no, but I know, but that's a dream fulfillment that you're watching happen, kind of.
So
maybe.
you have this fantasy of being the Irish asshole.
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, look at it. You look at all these people that you like, and it's just like
Yeah.
they're so unapologetically themselves.
I am like a pretty quiet, shy, like, you know.
Yeah.
See, but I never thought you were. You were always like the outgoing one in our group.
I know, but see, that's the thing. I feel like I've changed over the years, and
I was always the quiet, shy one.
you were
All
back
the
in the
time.
day. Yeah,
And I still am.
yeah.
Especially if I meet
yeah.
new people,
Mm-hmm.
which is why this one's a keeper. Because right away I was just like, okay, she's cool.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's awesome.
She
But
likes to sleep.
She likes to sleep. She goes to bed at 9.
Absolutely.
But no, I mean, I'm super introverted. I always will be.
Yeah.
But I think back in the day, I was more outgoing, and somewhere along the line that changed. And I don't know if that's because of anxiety and other things that I've struggled with, which
Yeah.
I have struggled with certain things. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's a confidence thing that I've struggled with or whatever. I'm working through it. I'm still working through it. I'm always trying to work through my shit.
Well, do you feel like after the hike was over, after the trail was completed, that you came out less anxious and more confident, or like those type of
100%.
Yeah.
I think it changed everything for me. And it's, I've gotten back into the routine of normal life, working full time and all that shit. But I feel different. Like I don't feel the numbness and I was just miserable for a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if a lot of it has to do with Tori over here or the trail or what, but I don't know. I think the mix of it just it put me in a better place, and I know that I'm not perfect, and I'm just always right now trying to make myself a better person every day.
Yeah.
I guess that's all I can really do. I mean, I can't change the past and shit that I've done, and
Yeah.
it is what it is at this point. All I can do now is try to be a better person.
Yeah. Look forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of back to the trail talk.
Mm-hmm.
What was probably like, and I know that there's so many things that are happening. There's so much information that you're retaining as you're walking through. But like, what would you say was your best moment and your worst moment?
Worst moment. I mean, my worst moment has to be the fucking kidney stones.
Oh, yeah.
Why? What were you thinking?
Oh, I was thinking about the story I told the other day
Which was?
when I thought you were kidnapped in the middle of the woods.
All right, well, tell the story. That's a good story.
What happened?
Tell it.
I'll tell it, but it's it's gonna look bad on you.
I don't even.
Parental discretion is advised.
And always between us. Yeah, so we were in Maine, and so you get further up north. So down south, right? The majority of people start Nobo, northbound.
Yeah.
So it's very populated,
Yeah.
and very packed. And the further you get up north, like, yeah, you'll start to hit Sobos. But you kind of thin the pack,
Yeah.
right? Like a lot of people drop out or whatever else, or injury or anything. So we're in Maine, and we just got into I hate leading hiking. Now, mind you, I've always been a solo hiker. Did like a 7-8 month road trip across the U.S. just hiking by myself. I like hiking by myself,
Yeah.
which is part of the draw to the AT. But I hate leading because I hate feeling like someone's up my ass. So if someone is ever behind me, I'm the first to pull over and be like, go,
Yeah.
please. I hate it. But Jake liked for me to lead. So he liked for me to just kind of set pace. And because he was faster, I think it helped him kind of to be around, because we would have that community of us sharing and talking.
Yeah.
First, if he actually hiked his pace, he would be a lot faster than me.
But see, and real quick, I think like I'm the same way.
Yeah.
But like I would prefer to be in the front and go instead of being behind somebody, because then like I'm walking at my own pace, and like sometimes I'll get way too close to them, and I'm like, okay, I don't want
Gotcha.
to walk this slow. I want to kind of walk this way. So I won't take over as leader, but I'll be like,
The
I'm gonna
front
walk really far up this way. Y'all figure out what you're doing back there, you know?
I think that's what he was comfortable with. So that's that's just the rhythm that we got into. But so yeah, we're this one day in Maine, and So we start the day off, and we got to hike like 4 or 5 miles to the Kennebec River.
Okay.
So this river in Maine, they have a canoe and a guy that works the canoe, also with his dog, and he ferries you over the Kennebec River. It's not that far. Like
it's not far, but it's very dangerous to cross because there's a dam
further up the river.
And
they don't notify of when they open this up.
Right. So they open and close the dam periodically, and they don't tell you when. So you could be trying to ford this river, and they open the dam, and you're screwed.
So back in the day, that was the requirement of
so now there's
river.
A ferry service, if you will, a canoe that picks you up.
Yeah, exactly. So we hit this pretty early on in the day. Like they're only like run from like 10 to 2, 10 to whatever.
Yeah,
like it's very narrow. So if you don't hit it, like you got to wait for the next day.
Yeah.
Or you can try and ford it, but again, just a safety risk. They really advise against it. So we hit this early on in the day, and we're kind of like, like there's a brewery up the road or whatever, and we were able to hitch a ride. So we're like, well, let's go up and check it out, and then we come back and we get on trail on the other side. So we're hiking, and again, I'm in front, and I remember probably a mile and a half in, like. We stay pretty close together. Every now and then I'll get ahead, and if I stop for a minute or two, like he'll catch up to me. So because we talk a bunch while we're hiking, but also there's days where we just throw our headphones in and we just listen to music, and you just need some quiet time and whatever else.
Yeah.
So I hit this road crossing maybe like 3 miles in. Oh no, before that I guess. Yeah, I gotta go number 2 in the woods. So our unspoken rule was I drop my pack on the side of the trail because he'll see it.
Yeah.
And then I go in the woods. So he always, this is now 5.5 months of hiking together.
Yeah.
He has always seen my pack, stopped. I come out of the woods. He's there waiting.
Yeah.
So I drop my pack, blah, blah, blah. I go in the woods. I come back out, and he's not there. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, maybe he was filtering water. Maybe he was hiking a little slower. Like, I don't know, whatever. So I get my pack on. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to keep hiking because he's behind me.
Yeah.
So I hike, and I hit maybe 3/4 of a mile, like I hit this road crossing, and then maybe another whatever I hit towards a shelter. And he's not there. And I stop, and I wait for a half hour.
Yeah.
And I'm freaking out at this point because he's never slow behind me. So I'm like, well, let me eat a snack. So I eat a snack, and I'm just kind of like, all right, like he'll be here. And then he's not there, 45 minutes. I'm like, let me eat another snack. So I eat another snack. Waiting, doesn't come. Within an hour, I'm like, there's no reason why he should be an hour behind me when I was only, like, if it was a whole day, maybe I'd gain an hour on him.
Yeah.
But over the course of, like, half a day, like, no way. So I start freaking out, and I've got no service, so I can't call him. So once an hour hits, I lose my shit, and I start running backwards with my full pack on me. That's like 20-plus pounds on me. So I'm running backwards, and it's pretty easy grade at this point, but I'm running backwards, and I'm joking because I'm trying to call my mom because just if my mom has service outside of this trail, she could, like, alert somebody if something's off.
Yeah.
And that is my female brain. I'm like, well, the Kennebec, they stop ferrying.
Yeah.
So if people know that nearby, they know that no one is coming behind you, right? You have hikers that come by where, like, if it was any other situation, a hiker would be coming behind and they would pass me, and I'd be like, hey, did you see this guy? And they'd be like, oh, yeah, he's back, whatever. But there's no hikers coming behind us because we were, like, the last end of it. So I'm hiking backward in my brain. I'm just like, somebody's kidnapped him. Oh, my God. Oh, I am, like, distraught.
You would be the first person to kidnap.
He's pretty. He's got beautiful hair. So I am crying, running backwards, trying to call my mom. It's not punching through. And now I've run successfully probably 2.5 miles backwards.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, let me call Jake. So I call Jake, and he picks up on the first ring. And I'm like, where are you? And he was like, where are you? And I'm angry, and he's angry. And he's like, well, I'm halfway up this mountain. So towards the end of the day, there was this mountain. We were going to go up, and our friend Noah was ahead of us, and we were going to stealth camp somewhere up there. So he must not have seen my pack, and he passed me.
Did not see it.
But in our entire 5 months of hiking together, he had never once passed me. So I was, like, literally crying, thinking he's dead, thinking he's kidnapped, thinking he's injured. I hit a water source where I was like, this is the last place he'd be because he would be filtering water, and he wasn't there. And as soon as I hit that, like, full stream of tears. So then it turns into, well, I'm 3/4 of the way up this mountain. I now have to hike an extra however many miles to undo what I just did.
Oh, no.
So it's like, all right, well, we'll see each other at camp. So he hikes and he goes, and I'm like trying to hike fast to catch up to them and get to this campsite just a little after the summit. And our friend Noah had found the spot, which was good, big enough for our 2 tents. And him and Noah had like dinner together and like we're hanging out, whatever, and just kind of like eased out and had a good moment. And then we're getting into the tent. So we set up I was carrying the tent this day, so set up the tent, and we're getting into bed at night, and Noah's getting into his tent at night, and we're just kind of like. We're not mad at each other, but there's a little bit of anger animosity because I was like so nervous about him.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, for him, I do sometimes hike faster without knowing.
Yeah. So the whole time I think that she ran ahead, and I'm like,
and left him.
Well, fuck this. Like, fuck me, I guess. She's leaving me for the day.
Base, right? Like once or twice a morning, I'll stop and I'll wait for him to catch up to me if that's the situation. So he thought I just was like, screw him, and I'm going up and over this hill. So, so we're getting into bed at night in the tent, whatever, and he was like, I smelled cigarette on him. So everybody smokes on trail. It's a big thing, and our friend Noah smoked, and so Noah offered him a cig, and he took it.
I was trying to quit at the time.
Yeah, so I smelt it, and I was like, oh, you smoked a cigarette. And I was all like, oh, bitch, I just had a day chasing you down, and you're up here having a grand
smoking
old time.
cigs with Noah.
Smoking cigs. And then he goes, and he does, like, no apology, whatever, and he just goes, he's like, that's not all. And in my head, I know we've spent every hour, minute, second, whatever, mostly of this trip together, so I know who he is. He can't get any bullshit past me. And I was like, you jerked off. So mind you, I hit the shelter, I started hiking backwards.
Yeah.
But he was ahead of me, so he had hit the shelter prior to me getting there. And he's asking people if I was around and whatever else. And they're like, no, haven't seen her. So he thought I was like, fuck him, I'm going up over this mountain. Man. So he's angry at me. So he's jerking off in a privy, angry.
Which is disgusting, by the way. But yeah.
While I'm crying, running backwards, trying to save his life, thinking he's been kidnapped. Just...
Dude, I got needs out there. I mean,
the best first day of trail. We were just we were so angry and upset with one another, but it was so funny looking back on it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so while she's crying, running backwards for me, I'm jerking off.
I feel like, fuck this bitch for leaving me.
Because you're angry. Like that's the part that I'm trying to understand. Like I get it, it'd be like, oh man, I miss her, this, that. Like, no, this bitch.
Exactly.
Oh man.
You're like the most not safe for work.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. I don't think I laughed that hard in a while. I'm crying. That was funny. Oh man. So besides getting kidney stones and jerking off in a privy, what was the best moment that you think you experienced?
So the first thing that comes to mind, so I told you about when I decided to hike the trail, right?
Yeah.
I was at this overlook, 3 a.m, sitting there thinking about everything in my life. Yeah. That was on the Appalachian Trail.
Okay.
That weekend, that long weekend, we did a section of the Appalachian Trail, then we popped off and made it a loop, a circle. So we were on the Appalachian Trail for a day or two. And that overlook was where I was sitting, and that was on the AT. And that overlook, when you get there during your through hike, that's your 1/3. Yeah, your 1/3 ish mark. Okay. Not officially, but psychological 1/3 mark.
Yeah.
And when I got back to that lookout again, and I sat there in the same spot, and I'm like, this is where it all started. That was like a big thing for me. It's like, not only are you 1/3 of the way through, if you're 1/3 of the way through, you're gonna make it. Yeah. You know, most of the time, if you're gonna quit, it's long before.
Before that, yeah.
Yeah. Unless there's an injury or whatever.
Yeah.
So when I hit that point, that was a big moment for me, and a more emotional point, I should say.
Kind of like this full circle coming around moment.
Yeah. So it's like sitting there thinking, like, I'm actually doing this. Yeah. And I'm not stopping anytime soon. So that was a big thing. And other than that, the finishing, obviously. Yeah. The last day of the hike was one of the best days I had on trail, for sure, because of the views and just the mood. And we hiked one of our longest mile days the last day.
Yeah.
I think we did 22, 23 miles the last day, which is nuts.
Jeez.
No one does that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just that feeling when you finish and touch. There's a big sign at the top of Mount Katahdin.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen it or not, but
I actually saw it through your picture when you guys made it. I mean, I never even knew that existed.
Yeah, so that's the finish, and just the feeling of being done. And,
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's just I can't really describe it.
What's like mentally going through your mind? You know, like
when you finish.
When you finish, I mean, because like you just went through all this physical endurance and mental endurance as well. You know, throughout it, surviving kidney stones and all these other crazy things. I mean, what like when you touched that sign, what was the first thought in your head?
I mean, the first thought is probably just being like proud of myself.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit! Like I just did this. Like not many people do this. Excuse me. The success rate of people that attempt a through hike of the AT every year is less than 20%.
Jeez.
It's somewhere in 18 to 20.
Yeah.
So that's the success rate. So just knowing that I finished and I did this was huge. And the second feeling I would say is honestly sadness. Because I didn't, my body was broken down, and I would cuss up a storm every day, whatever. There were hard days, but I didn't want it to end. I didn't want to come back to this normal life that we live.
Yeah.
Just that way of life out on trail was just, it was the best.
Yeah.
It was like sacred in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it flew by.
Yeah.
It was like, holy shit. Like it.
Because you were out there for 6 months, you said?
About 6 months. But it did not feel that way for me.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people, like I said, following YouTube hikers and things, people either hit the halfway point and feel like, oh my God, I only went halfway.
Yeah.
I got to do this again. Or they hit it and they think, oh man, that flew by.
Yeah.
And I was the latter.
Yeah. Well, because you're living in the moment every day, because there's really not. I mean, I had, I don't remember, Johnny Stolsters used to go, and he walked across the entire U.S.
Trevor.
And he said the same thing. He's just like, we were out there for 3.5 years, but I mean, it seemed like it went by like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's because like, when everyone's like, yo, live in the moment, like that really is living in the moment. Like you have nothing else going on.
No, there's no schedule. You don't have to be in bed at a certain time. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to hike any miles if you don't want to. You can just chill at your campsite all day. Like there's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just live however you want. You're living simply. It's so different.
You're allowed to appreciate that.
Yeah.
Life doesn't maybe give us as much time or perspective to allow us to appreciate that. And I think being on trail is, it's grinding at times and it's tiring. And very much so on the day-to-day, you're like, why am I doing this? Like, this blows. Like, today sucked. Like, whatever. But it's like, all you have to do is just keep doing it. You just got to keep waking up. You just got to keep hiking. Like, it's crazy. But if you can tolerate that, it's like...
Yeah, it's like essentially that's your goal every day. You just get up and all you have to do is walk.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's it.
And it sucks. It's hard
at
times, but that's all you have to do.
Jeez.
And it's not for everyone. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I feel like, and I've talked to other people about this, I feel like if you want to hike the Appalachian Trail or any long distance hike, anyone can do it. Yeah. It doesn't matter your gear, your physical shape, your weight, whatever. It doesn't matter. If you want to do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
But it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
And if a lot of people get out there and they realize that, holy shit, I can't live without running water. I can't live without easy access to food or the comfort of sleeping away from mice or bears or whatever. It's not for everyone, but I loved every minute of it, even on the bad days.
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah, you're a psycho.
There were days when it was 33 to 35 degrees, pouring down rain. Your freaking whole body's numb and you're just like done or whatever, but it's like it's great.
Yeah.
It's like, to me, like I would always say, better than a work day.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
That's a big thing on trail is a lot of people will be like, better than a work day, better than being at work.
And that's sad.
I think that's a sign that's indicative of our culture now, where it's we all think we have to do that, and without break or without reprieve.
Yeah.
Which is, it's very sad.
Yeah.
Because that 100% is something that a lot of people say on trail. Better than working, better than being at work. And,
Yeah.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, my work ain't that bad.
Yeah. And I mean,
like,
a lot of people
damn.
don't, to be fair, a lot of people don't work out in the, in the elements.
Yeah.
I do with my career. I'm working outside in the elements,
Yeah.
Rain, snow, whatever. It doesn't matter. But I would rather hike in the rain than work in the rain.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
You can wear gloves.
You enjoy it.
Yeah, I do. I just love it. Everything about it. Just when I get out on trail, when I'm in my tent, like I feel at home.
Yeah.
And that's weird, but.
And I think that's like, for someone like me, and you were saying this earlier too, with kind of like, how you do things and want to do things with hiking, you work for a little bit, save up and everything like that, for someone like, myself, like in that position, I have watched myself accumulate myself into unwanted debt and things. So it's like everything that I save, I'm like, well, I can't really save that because I got to give it back. And then I just get stuck in this circle and this circle and circle. And then I start to realize, I'm like, realistically, let's think here. Probably going to be in debt the rest of my life. So why not push that off? But to go out and take a step like that, I think is, for myself, single guy in his 30s, I'm like, that's something that I've always wanted to do. Go on like a big hike trail like that. And, you start to think as you get closer and closer, you're like, okay, well, why not now? And I think a lot of younger people are starting to do that. I think a lot of people are like, okay, let's get away from this norm rat race, quote unquote, style of life and do that.
And another saying that I've heard even prior to trail is that the hardest part of a through hike is making the initial commitment to do it. And I feel like that's 100% true.
Yeah.
I mean, all the other stuff will fall into place. It's that first, I'm going to have to quit my job. I'm going to have to, save up all this money, and I'm going to have to plan everything out. That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Once you're out there and you're good.
Yeah.
It's that first, I'm going to have to let go
of
all this shit. There's people that sell their houses to do a through hike.
Really?
And I mean, luckily, I haven't been in that position. I'll be honest. I've never owned a home. I don't have kids. I've never been married. So it's easier for me than it is for a lot of people. But there are a lot of people who do have kids and are married, and they sell their homes to do a through hike because it's their, it's their dream.
Yeah.
So.
What's do you say is like the most beautiful scenery you saw on the trail? Something that's like burned in your memory.
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
All of New Hampshire.
It is beautiful. I love New Hampshire.
It's my favorite state of the whole trail for sure. They're going through the White Mountains. I had been there prior for a weekend and done again a section of the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah.
But it's just once you hit certain stretches in New Hampshire, it's like, holy shit! Like this exists on the East Coast. Like it doesn't look like East Coast hiking.
Yeah.
It's like this belongs
out there. Yeah, out the other side.
So
the better people.
Yeah. I don't know about all that. But
so what's like, why you're going through that? Because did you start in spring and ended in fall? Or
right. I started the 2nd of April and I finished September 21st.
Okay. So you finished up more like when cool weather would have been coming.
Right. So that's the other thing. Mount Katahdin, the finish line.
Yeah.
Is part of Baxter State Park in Maine. And Baxter State Park closes the 2nd week of October because of weather.
Yeah.
So every northbound through hiker sort of has that deadline.
Okay.
Like they have to plan it out. Like I have to make it to the finish by this point.
Yeah.
So most people who start the trail start, end of March to like late April. Like that's like the bubble, what we call it, the hiker bubble.
Yeah.
And there's people that start January 1st.
Yeah.
And there's people that start in May or whatever, but they face their own struggles because of starting at different points in time. So most people start within that range.
Got you. Yeah. Huh. That's crazy. Well, I'm probably going to finish up here soon, but before we go, just a couple more things.
Yeah.
Let's go into some of this terminology.
Okay.
Because you actually made a video for, I think it was Trails YouTube channel, or?
So I didn't make the video. That was Eva, who we talked about earlier.
Okay. One of the girls you were hiking with.
Right.
Okay.
I hiked with her majority of the trail, and she was doing a vlog for the trek.
Okay.
Which
Trek,
is
that's it. Yeah.
a YouTube channel specifically for backpacking, and they kind of pick people to vlog for them.
Okay.
And she was one of them, and she actually vlogged her entire hike.
Okay.
Every 2 days or whatever, she would put out another video, and so her whole journey is on YouTube through the trek.
Nice.
And that video that you're talking about is a video where she was just like, "Hey, Hammer," that was my trail name.
Hammer.
Like, hey,
Jake the Hammer Wise.
yeah, that's right. So she said, "Hammer, I want to do a video of just you explaining the trail terminology." So that's what I did, in a hot tub with a cigarette in one hand and a PBR in the other.
That's right. You're just like going back and forth. So let's talk through some of the terminology. So
Okay.
why does the terminology exist? What do some of the words mean? What are some words that stuck out to you? What are some words that people that are hiking the trail might need to know?
I have no idea why it exists, to be honest. It's just part of the backpacking community, and I don't know how it started or whatever. Obviously, we talked about Nobo, Sobo, Ebo, Webo, northbound, southbound, eastbound, westbound. I guess we should talk about through hike, which is a term, which is what I did. A through hike is, by definition, hiking in a long distance established footpath from point to point in one calendar year.
Okay.
So in order for it to be considered a through hike, it has to be done within a year. And because of the weather change on the East Coast, it pretty much has to be done in 6 months.
Okay.
Typically. We talked about the blazing terms a little bit.
PUD.
Is there? Huh?
PUDs.
PUDs. PUDS. PUDs.
PUDs.
Pointless ups and downs.
Okay.
Which is the
The
definition
entirety
of the Appalachian Trail. They send you up.
Mountain.
They send you up for no view. They send you down for no. It's no point. Pointless ups and downs. That's PUDs.
You did a whole thing on this.
I know. That's what I'm trying to remember all of it.
Yeah.
But everyone else was throwing the damn words out to me.
Slack packing.
Okay.
You did that.
Slack packing, which would be at certain points on the trail. Maybe say we stop at a hostel for a night. And
what would a hostel be? Just for.
Yeah. So, like I said, every couple days, every week, every 2 weeks, whatever your schedule is you're stopping for a break.
Yeah.
And whether that's to just get food, for the next couple days, or to take a day off and rest your body, you're stopping somewhere. People will stay in hotels, or they'll stay at a hostel. And hostels are usually run by people that have hiked in the past, typically, and it could be, a house or a cabin, like whatever the hell it is, and it's just maybe bunk rooms or whatever, and it's a place for hikers to stay that's really cheap.
Yeah.
And different hostels offer different things, whatever.
Nice.
They could offer food or whatever it is.
There was one of the terms you said that it describes people, but then you're like, they're such and such, and then you're like, pigs.
Pigs.
And I can't remember which one that was now.
Day hikers.
Day hikers.
Okay.
Yeah, so day hikers are people that are out there for just a day.
Yeah.
It's like the normal person who comes out on the Appalachian Trail in their blue jeans and t-shirts and,
okay.
Just hikes a couple miles and then hikes back to their car. They're just through hikers kind of like have a little beef with day hikers and weekend hikers because those people are the ones that don't follow the quote trail rules. The leave no trace trail rules. They'll take a shit in the woods, right up against a tree. Like you're supposed to bury your shit, you know, and stuff like that. And they don't follow these rules, A, because they don't know. And B, because they just don't care. It's not their home like it is for us. So, we're getting to camp at the end of the night, tired as all hell, and we have to set up our tent next to a giant pile of shit. Someone just left there. It's
and also just they when it's in season and people are out more often, especially on weekends, it's you know, if you have X amount of AT through hikers coming through, we all got to sleep somewhere.
Yeah.
And then with the added traffic, you know, you might come somewhere and you might not be able to tent. You got to keep walking.
Yeah.
And our hours on the day, just based on the miles we're trying to get, means that we might get in later than them, because it's not a hobby thing. It's like we're doing this as a job essentially. Yeah. So we might show it at a tent site and it's like, oh shoot, there's no place for you because it's overrun. It's like, we'll keep hiking. And that's, you know, it's not that anybody's owed it more than anyone else. Yeah. But when you're out there, you definitely feel like we went months being in the cold weather, taking those spots. Yeah. To then be in the warm weather and whatever else. There's a little bit of animosity there. Yeah. You got LNT, flip-floppers.
Well, we came into this conversation with slack packing. Slack packing, like I said, about the hostels. Like, say you get to a hostel and they say they offer slack packing. So what that means is you would leave most of your gear with the hostel. Right? Okay. So you would take out your tent. You would take out most of your clothes, all that. So all you would really have on your back is your food for the day. Yeah. And they say, okay, we'll drive your gear to this point. Okay. And when you hit that point, we'll give you your gear back. So you can just crush miles because you don't have no weight on your back. Gotcha. So that would be slack packing.
Slack packing. Yeah. Gotcha.
And then there's
flip-floppers.
Flip-flop, yeah.
Flip-flop would be, so like I said, you can go northbound or southbound. A flip-flopper would be someone who would, let's say, start in Georgia like we did, hike to the halfway point, which is Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. Okay. Right? And then they hit that point, and then they would get a ride up to the finish in Maine. Okay. And then they would hike back down to the halfway point. And a lot of people do that for weather reasons, I think.
Yeah, and time. And then we met a bunch of, you know, starting in early April like we did. You can't do that if you're in school. So we met a couple of kids that were coming out of high school, so they started midway point so they could hike north. Got you. Because it was after, you know, in June-ish or whatever.
Say you start middle or late April and you think you're in this good shape and that you're going to finish by, like I said, second week of October. Yeah. And you realize that your body's just not made for this. Yeah. But you don't want to quit. So that would be an option for, you know, flip-flop.
Do that.
Say, yeah, we'll go halfway and then we'll jump up so that we can still hit that last part.
And go from there.
Yeah. And then you can take as much time as you want.
So, final question for you, sir.
Yeah.
We'll wrap up here. What would you say to somebody that is thinking about doing a hike like the Appalachian Trail, or maybe not the Appalachian Trail, maybe just, you know, like a walk or something that's more long distance?
Yeah.
What advice would you have for them after doing this? And for you too, Tori, as well, if you want to answer, because I think there's a lot that goes in.
Yeah.
One being female and male of like how you prep differently, how you prepare differently.
I would say for me, you know, I lived the 9 to 5, stay in your hometown, work a job, go to college, all that bullshit. Yep. I did that for how many years, and that's what I thought was my future. But something I thought was missing. And after hiking the trail, I feel like what was missing was that adventure aspect of life. I feel like human beings need some sort of adventure.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you feel that calling for adventure, go for it because it will change everything for you.
Yeah.
They say that through hiking, quote, ruins your life because once you do it, you're not going to want to go back to that 9 to 5, at least not for forever.
Yeah.
I don't know of many thru hikers that finish and then that's it.
Yeah.
Usually if that's the case, it's retirees who, you know, do it as their big last hurrah or whatever. But if you're a young person and you do a thru hike, you're going to do another one.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
So if you, my advice is if you feel that calling, if you feel something is missing, fucking go for it.
Just do it.
Because you'll see everything so differently.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of ties into, I guess, what my feeling is, which is it's kind of like accept no limitation, you know. We're in this version of reality, and maybe that's what is accepted by most people, but you're your own person. You get to choose every day what you wake up and do. And, you know, and there is a strategic way to go about that, waking up and choosing to make money every day and choosing to, you know, provide. And thankfully for both of us, we don't have, not thankfully, I shouldn't say it like that, but we don't have we're not married. We don't have children. We don't have a house. There are
But
definitely things that come with
there
that.
are people that
Correct.
live a different lifestyle, and they do have those things. So
Yes.
just because you have those things doesn't mean that you can't live differently. And that's what people don't realize as well.
True. And I think that ultimately you have to look at it like, you know, I look at my life like currently what I do is for me. But if you're in those situations, if you're a better version of yourself, you're better able to provide and give and be happy, right? Like that's something where I think, you know, all right, we're all around 30 and whatnot, and we've probably all had different situations with our parents and whatnot. But when you look at your parents, it's like when you see them, they're happiest. That's like gold to you.
Yeah.
And that's something for us where it's like, well, I mean, our parents probably had us before they were as old as we are. And it's something where you have to give to yourself in order to be able to give to everyone else. If you care about people, the best thing you can do in some regards is give to yourself. And you grow from it. You learn from it. And you're not going to gain anything by static energy. Yeah. You're going to gain it by trying something new, by failing, by learning through that failure. So even if it sucks, right? Even if you choose an experience that sucks, you're going to learn from it. So isn't that worth the growth? If you like growing. But I think that's something too. I think that's something about Jake. I think that's something I've already learned about you. It's like I think you guys both appreciate growth, and some people like being a little bit more maybe static, but if you like growth, you got to go for it. Whatever that is. It's your own variation. It's your own way of sticking your neck out on the line that forces you to grow as a person.
Walking into that uncertainty.
And here's the thing that comes with that is that you have to accept and know that life will be okay. If I go to hike the AT and I hate it, I can walk away. Or I can finish. If I go to have whatever, like I can fail. And it can suck and I'll be okay.
And in these times, there will always be a job available for you.
For now.
You won't have any problem finding work, I promise.
That's insane. My friend, it's so good to see you. I am so proud of you, dude, for doing this. I've been waiting to have this conversation with you and just to see you in general, man. It's been so crazy to see how you have just grown over these years and where you are now, man. And
Thank you.
Truly, like,
it means awesome. Everything to me. And I'm so excited to see you again after all these years.
I know, man. It's been way too long. It was really nice meeting you.
Likewise.
You are a pleasure. I feel like I've known you forever. Thank you for the insight and allowing me to put the third microphone up. Before we go, again, if you want to see Jake's terminology interview on YouTube, that's at the Trek YouTube channel.
Yeah, the Trek. If you type in the Trek, what is it? Hammer.
Is it
okay,
Hammer?
So
Hammer does.
The Trek, Eva Courtry, Hammer does trail terminology. You'll find it. Anybody can find
I think it just said trail terminology with Hammer. So
also, Instagram. Hit me up on Instagram. Hamwise Gamgee. Yeah.
You got a bunch of pictures up there and everything.
Yeah, you can sort of see my whole journey throughout the Instagram post. Also, I am working on a trail documentary-ish type thing.
Okay.
I've got so much footage and photos that I'm going to compile into a little thing. So it's going to take me a while. I don't know when it's going to be done, but it is coming. So
we'll let everybody know that.
Yep.
I'm actually excited to see that.
Yeah.
Because you said your impersonal moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's so cool. All right. Well, thank you again, sir. Thank you guys for watching. As always, you can find us on YouTube at Wallace Production, WALLESS Production. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or anywhere you get your podcast from. Check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/T2M Media. You can find us there, help support the show, and check out our new YouTube channel with myself and the wonderful Ben Marini at Collection of Madness. Again, I'll have all of Jake's socials linked down in the description below. If I'm sure he'd be glad to answer any of your questions if you have some Appalachian Trail questions, and we just kind of touched the cusp here of everything, so there's some pretty cool stuff that he could tell you about and show you.
Yep, for sure.
Sounds good, brother. Thank you again, sir. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Cheers. See you next
Sure,
time.
nice.